The Laws of Hammurabi, Justice Carved in Stone. In a dimly lit gallery of the Louvre Museum, visitors stand before a towering black stone stele covered in dense, wedge-shaped inscriptions. At the top of this monument, a king stands respectfully before a seated god. This is not merely a relic of an ancient civilization. It is the Code of Hammurabi, one of the earliest and most complete written legal systems in human history. The laws were created by Hammurabi, who ruled the city-state of Babylon around 1792 to 1750 BCE. During his reign, Babylon transformed from a relatively modest kingdom into a dominant power in Mesopotamia. Yet Hammurabi did not rely solely on military strength. He understood that stability required something more enduring: law. Ancient Mesopotamia, located between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in what is now modern Iraq, was a region of competing city-states, trade networks, and cultural exchange. Agriculture flourished, commerce expanded, and cities grew increasingly complex. With this complexity came disputes over land, marriage, property, wages, and crime. In such a dynamic environment, unwritten customs were no longer sufficient to regulate society. Hammurabi's response was revolutionary for its time. Rather than allowing justice to remain dependent solely on local traditions or arbitrary decisions, he ordered nearly 300 laws to be inscribed publicly in cuneiform script. By carving them into stone, he ensured that they would endure both physically and symbolically. Law was no longer hidden in the memory of elders, it was displayed for all to see. The image at the top of the stele shows Hammurabi receiving authority from Shamash, the sun god and god of justice. This visual message was powerful and deliberate. It suggested that the king's authority was divinely sanctioned. Law, therefore, was not merely political. It was sacred, rooted in cosmic order. Perhaps the most famous principle associated with the code is the idea often summarized as an eye for an eye. This concept, known as lex talionis, meant that punishment should correspond directly to the crime committed. If a man destroyed another man's eye, his own eye would be destroyed. To modern readers, such punishments can seem harsh and uncompromising. However, in the context of the ancient world, this principle represented an important step towards proportional justice. Instead of unlimited revenge or violent blood feuds between families, the law set clear limits. It attempted to replace personal vengeance with regulated retribution. Yet the code was far from egalitarian. Social status played a crucial role in determining penalties. Punishments varied depending on whether the victim was a noble, a commoner, or an enslaved person. The law reflected the rigid hierarchy of Babylonian society. Equality before the law, as understood today, was not its aim. Stability and order were. What makes the code particularly compelling to historians is its extraordinary detail. The laws covered marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption, trade agreements, debt, agricultural management, and wages for laborers and artisans. There were even specific regulations for builders. If a house collapsed and caused the death of its owner, the builder could face the death penalty. Such provisions reveal a society deeply concerned with responsibility and accountability. They also demonstrate how interconnected economic and legal life had become. Through these inscriptions, we glimpse daily life nearly 4,000 years ago. We see a world of merchants negotiating contracts, farmers managing irrigation canals, families arranging marriages, and judges weighing evidence. The code does not merely list punishments, it maps a civilization's priorities and anxieties. Was Hammurabi a visionary reformer devoted to justice, or a pragmatic ruler consolidating power? The two possibilities are not mutually exclusive. By presenting himself as a protector of the weak and a champion of fairness, he strengthened his political legitimacy. Law became a unifying instrument, binding diverse peoples under a single administrative framework. The influence of the code echoes through history. Later legal traditions in the ancient Near East adopted similar principles of written statutes and proportional punishment. Some scholars have even observed parallels between Hammurabi's laws and certain passages in biblical texts, though the nature of this relationship continues to inspire academic debate. When archaeologists rediscovered the stele in the early 20th century, they recovered more than a remarkable artifact. They uncovered one of humanity's earliest attempts to define justice in written form. Today, the stone stands as a reminder that the rule of law, the belief that society should be governed by established and publicly known rules, is not a modern invention. It has deep and ancient roots. Nearly 4 millennia after it was carved, the stone still commands attention. Its silent script continues to provoke reflection on fairness, authority, and the nature of justice. In its enduring presence, we find one of civilization's first answers to a timeless question: how should human beings live together under shared rules?